Welcome to Black Men Spy Warcast of the U.S.-Iran War Update Day 28. We are very, very closely nearing, actually 28 days, because 1 month ago, we started this war on February 28th, 30 days from today, right? Saturday. And of course, that was a short month. So, we are now, as the United States has attacked Iran for 1 month. We are 4 weeks into the 4 week, 6 weeks schedule that they had. Our guest hosts, we're waiting for them to come up because we didn't have that advance notice. Jacob Carsbo, who has a family out in Denmark, and Wajia Lion from Minneapolis. When they come on, I will bring them up. So, first, because this didn't have a schedule, I forgot that I'm going to let people spool up here and I'm just going to talk. Somebody said, could you cut down on the banter? And no, we can't cut down on the banter because we are trying to get people to come on here. It takes about 2-3 minutes for us to get up to somewhere like there's 1,000 watchers. And that's when we generally start, somewhere between 600-800, and then we'll start. But today, I'm just going to warn you all until Jacob and Wajia come. This is going to be an exceptionally shouty show. I'm a little hoarse already because I was talking to someone earlier from Europe, and I got very shouty. What's going on out there in the world today? This is not a day off. This is almost like a Monday morning for chaos. And chaos was flying all last night. Chaos hit pretty hard this morning, and we are on our way to a higher level of chaos right now. So hold on to your hats. We're just about, we're going to start here any minute. We have about 600 some odd followers, and we're going to wait for if Jacob comes up because maybe they thought we would take a day off. I knew today was going to be bad because this is where Donald Trump pushed out 10 days, his schedule to April 6th. So just give me 1 second. My assistant is trying to get back up. So, but we knew something was going to happen after close of business yesterday. And the question was, who would actually initiate this? Is this going to be Donald Trump? Is it going to be some external factor? Things were looking very, very much like Israel was going to create some mayhem, and they sort of did. And by doing that, they struck all of the steel factories of Iran. Iran created its own independent steel industry. And it appeared once again that Israel is running its own agenda, completely and wholly separate from the United States. And that, of course, caused the Iranians a lot of consternation yesterday. And they have now threatened every major manufacturing facility in the Persian Gulf. On top of that, they have threatened every energy power plant. They threatened every major oil field yesterday. So somebody says, good morning, and I'm looking good. I am not looking good. You see these dark circles under my eyes? That's from getting up at 3 a.m. this morning and having to deal with, I knew it was going to be crazy. I knew it was going to be crazy, and it is crazy out there, right? It is just nuts. So if you just give me a second, I'm going to try to get Jacob Carsbo on board. I need him at the very least to talk about what's going on. Ouija is here. I can now get Wajia in here and we can have a discussion because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this may be a defining day in the war before the next defining day in this war. So I'm just going to start out by putting up a picture until Jacob and Wajia come up because this hit the news last night, And I didn't believe it until I saw it in the Wall Street Journal, and because I had heard it from Fox News, and they're a propaganda arm of the administration. This is what's in the news this morning. If you can't read it, Pentagon weighs sending 10,000 more ground troops to the Middle East. Right now, we have on tap 2,500 Marines who are on station. We have an additional 2,500 Marines. These are the shooters. I'm not counting the sailors who are coming on the Boxer Amphibious Assault Group. That's 5,000. You've already heard they're sending 1,000. That's 6,000. We estimate that there's probably another 500 to 1,000 special operations. Let's throw them in there. That's 7,000. They're expecting 2,000 more airborne troops on top of that. That's 9,000, right? Now the White House has told Fox News 10,000 additional troops on top of the 9,000 that are here. Oh, Red Fez Day. I see how it is, Wadja. So, Wadja Lion is here. It's obviously Red Fez Day. Yesterday was Black Fez Day. I have my Red Fez on so we can start this game right. Oh,
Hello, good morning.
Wadja, I
Can
don't
you
know
hear
if you
me?
saw the intro I just did.
I did. I
It
did.
ain't pleasant. We're going to just
No.
hold off on any commentary right now because there's a shitload more that's happening in addition to this. And this has just started burning through the news wires in the last hour. But the Wall Street Journal and Fox News got it from the White House yesterday. And last night around 3 a.m., Fox News started reporting that they were looking to send 10,000 additional troops, completely separate from the 8 to 9,000 that are there or going there right now, including the airborne troops. Completely different set. Now, here's the kicker. I saw this the day before yesterday, right? And I will show you the tweet that I put out this morning, but we did the analysis yesterday on the movement of a very specific ship. But before we go to that, maybe Jacob's taking a day off. He didn't see the invite, which went out just recently. And let's take a look at the casualty board. I know some people don't like the use of that phrase, casualties, death board, whatever, but this is the casualty board for today, the 28th day of the war. We are now in our first month of the war. This is from Al Jazeera's live tracker. I don't know if you can see that very well. There you go. I like Al Jazeera's live tracker because as people are killed or injured in real time, they change it. Iran, they haven't updated. It's 1,937 killed thus far. In the Gulf states, the United Arab Emirates, 11 dead, Oman, 3 dead, Saudi, 2, Bahrain, 3, Kuwait, 6. That 6 in Kuwait does not include the 14 Americans. It shows 13 killed on the U.S. board. We know another person died in operations, but he wasn't killed in action. The U.S. injured is actually over 300 at this point. We have new information that a drone or ballistic missile strike struck Prince Sultan Air Base, PSAB, as we call it,
Right.
and destroyed in-flight refueling aircraft and E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft. And 12 U.S. service members are injured, 2 of them critically, which means burns
That
all
went
over their
up.
bodies because there was a massive fire.
That
Yes,
just went
sir.
up. It came 2 dozen.
What, 24 wounded?
Yeah. That just this morning, that's what I got. They just
War's,
said it went up this morning.
war's moving too fast for us. We haven't gotten casualty counts from Israel this morning. Israel had a night and a day of being bombarded yesterday with cluster ballistic missiles. If there's people out there who say Iran's being decimated, their ballistic missile force is being reduced. No, it's not. I am thoroughly convinced now it is not being reduced. I am thoroughly convinced that what's happening is they are pacing themselves and they're getting
I
more
think
hits in.
the estimate they came up with, if the U.S. was correct about all the hits and their predictions of the infrastructure they hit of the Iranian military missile launchers and drone launchers, I think they just took 15% down of the total Iranian missile launchers, not 95%, like Pete Hegseth is
Right.
saying.
They may
Totally
have
different.
gotten the missiles that they may have gotten the missiles that they could see, but there's obviously thousands that they cannot see, right? And that's one thing altogether. So let me see here right now. I'm looking for a notification of something that I sent out this morning, which relates to. Hold on, let me just take a look. Here it is. This was reported a day or so ago by MT Anderson. MT Anderson is a good analyst. I don't know what he does for a day job, but he is a good imagery analyst, and he tracks satellite imagery of U.S. bases and enemy bases around the world. He really comes off like an old U.S. intelligence imagery analyst. This picture that I am showing you is the atoll of Diego Garcia. I have been to Diego Garcia. It's 1,000, 2,000 miles away from everything south of the Persian Gulf. This side of the island is a preserve. This side of the island is the NSF, the Naval Support Facility. This actually belongs to England, and they're turning it back over to control of the Andaman Islands with a lifetime lease. This is the air base on Diego Garcia, and over here is the port and the harbor. This is a docking area for ships that come down here. This outside of it is outside of the atoll. You exit the deep water atoll, and you're now in the Indian Ocean heading north to the Persian Gulf. It takes about 2.5, 3 days to get there. It's long steaming. 2 days ago, the USS Tripoli amphibious assault group was in Diego Garcia, getting the last of its equipment, ammunition, probably testing its amphibious tractors. They were here for 2 days, and then they left, and they're now should be arriving in the Persian Gulf, what we call the AO, the operations area, not right at the Strait of Hormuz, in the AO today. But that's okay, because what they're going to do is they're going to steam circles, they're going to have meetings and briefings and things like that. Why are you showing me this, Malcolm? Because for almost 20 years after Desert Storm, we pre-positioned a lot of armored vehicles and equipment here on a series of ships called TAKRs, right? T T stands for Military Sea Lift Command, AK stands for Auxiliary, R stands for Reinforcement, right? And what we had these pre-positioned ships down there in case a war was coming. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find you a nice picture of the ship that we're dealing with. This is it right here. It's the TAKR USNS Palaulu. This is named after a Hawaiian Medal of Honor winner. This ship is a wholly owned, independent vessel that has on board pre-positioned 58 M1 tanks and 900 armored vehicles are sitting in the hull of this ship. And we keep them down there just in case a major war breaks out. Like I said, we used to keep 5 or 6 of these there. This has enough equipment for an armored brigade, right? This ship will just come up from Diego Garcia, go to whatever port, drop a ramp. There's guys on board, will come on board, and there's people who are doing maintenance. They will start those trucks and tanks, and they will roll off right onto wherever the invasion is. Because this is an invasion support ship. This ship has 958 armored vehicles and trucks on it. Now, here's the kicker. This ship left Florida last October and ended up in Diego Garcia at the end of November. After years, Trump canceled all the contracts pre-positioning those ships there. Then suddenly, this thing magically appears 4 months ago, 5 months ago at this point. This ship has 1,000, I'm going to say it again, 58 M1 tanks and 900 armored vehicles. Now you're thinking, yeah, but Malcolm, they're sending the 82nd Airborne there. Did the word airborne escape your notice? The airborne jump from airplanes. They do not have M1 tanks. They might ride in a Bradley infantry fighting vehicle or a truck. The question here is this has been prepositioned for a specific type of unit, a U.S. Army mechanized infantry brigade. And guess what is not in that theater? So when I saw this yesterday, this ship leave Diego Garcia. Remember, it's been sitting there since last November, drinking Coke, getting tans. I knew some shit was up. So I asked this question on this, by the way, is our significant activity, our second most significant activity of the day, which is, who is this armor for? And by the time I went to bed last night, this was in draft. Fox News announced 10,000 additional men might be sent to the Persian Gulf. Really, if it's might be sent, why is that ship moving? Right? Watch it.
Is that in addition to the 10,000 troops I mentioned yesterday, or is that the 10,000 troops I mentioned yesterday?
Different. This is not the Marines. This is not the Airborne. This is not the Special Forces. This is an additional 10,000 troops that aren't even been notified yet. But you know what they did? They notified that goddamn ship to leave Diego Garcia and probably head, I don't even know where it's going to fucking offload. What it could do is go with the amphibious task force. The problem is there's so much logistics that has to go into that ship. Here's what I wrote. I said, whatever's going on, it means there's going to be a long lead time for whatever brigade size unit needs to marry up with these vehicles. These are not for the 82nd Airborne. Fox News says Trump is planning another 10,000 men. These 1,000 vehicles need function checks, refueling, offloading from the ship, making sure they start, allocation to their units that need them. They also have to bring Bradley infantry fighting vehicle crews, APC crews, truck drivers, water purification, combat engineers, specific vehicle maintainers, and thousands of tons of ammunition. This spells out an invasion force, a
I
small
actually
one, but it's offensive, not defensive.
just a correction, Malcolm. We did
Yep.
mention the 10,000 troops in yesterday's episode.
We
I
did.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. But what I'm seeing is that people, and I'm sure you could say something about that. Even if they sent 20,000 troops, it's not going to be enough.
People, I'm going to show y'all a map here in a minute, right? And this is a map of Desert Storm, of when Operation Iraqi Freedom. People, especially in the United States, have a real hard time understanding geography. When we invaded Iraq here, right, in 2003, this is a country of 25 million people, but technically we only fought 5 million. That 5 million are the Sunni Muslims living out in Western Iraq. We didn't fight the Shia, except at the beginning of the war. That's 20 million right off the books. We fought 5 million people. They killed 4,900 of us over 8 years, right? Iraq is 440,000 square kilometers. When we fought in Vietnam, this is South Vietnam. It had 16 million people in 1968. It was only 174,000 square kilometers. We lost 58,000 men. This is Iran. It has a population of 92 million. It is 1,650,000 square kilometers. In fact, do I have that map here? There it is. This little area right here around Hormuz, that's the size of Vietnam. And when we did the Battle of Okinawa in World War II, which we had to invade with freaking 184,000 troops to take the Japanese fighting at Okinawa, it was smaller than Kishem Island, the Shark Island. So I'm in a
Yeah,
bad mood today because what I
yeah.
see is we are about to embark on a different level of fuckery than I explained yesterday. Yesterday, it was only the Marines and the Airborne and a massive 500, maybe 1,000-man Special Forces task force. Nope, now we're going to add another U.S. Army mechanized infantry brigade on top of that. And we know this shit's happening because their equipment silently left Diego Garcia. That equipment was preserved there for a Desert Storm level war. And again, Trump broke the contract keeping the other 4 ships there, but then he's quietly sent back this one last year when they were planning with Israel to invade, to attack Iran. So now it tells me we are going into something very different. Very different type of war is coming. A small offensive war. Why'd you help me out here?
Here
I'm so
and here's
frustrated.
what I am even frustrated as well, because if we thought that the terrains of Afghanistan were horrible on our soldiers and we were defeated so many times because of the guerrilla warfare, Afghanistan looks like going to Disneyland compared to Iran when it comes to its mountain terrain. Iran
Right.
has
They
so
said it's
much
actually They said Afghanistan is like a flat beach with sand dunes compared to Iran's mountains.
and like it's Iran is a natural fortress by design. Iran is bigger than Afghanistan. Iran has so many bunkers built inside mountains that are at least 500 meters deep. That's more than 1,500 feet down each mountain. That means you have to take an elevator down 5 minutes until you reach your destination. And yet, these tunnels that we are talking about are reinforced with high, dense concrete that can take a lot of damage, more than 50,000 psi. That means that doesn't matter how many GBU bombs you throw on that. It doesn't matter how many
Right.
five. It's gonna last. And they have infrastructure inside these tunnels to rebuild whatever you destroy. So you might destroy the entrance of that tunnel, right? They have people in there working right away, clearing that out, making it all nice, and in a few hours they have another missile coming your way.
Mhm. And don't forget, there's a lot of people, a lot of people. These mountains aren't all abandoned. There's villages everywhere. There's towns everywhere. There's cities everywhere, right? Just because it's rocky, I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. All right. I'm going to tell you what the problem is. I have a bad feeling about this. I'm going to show you a map from World War II. And those of you who know, you know. This map was called Operation Market Garden. If any of you have seen a film called A Bridge Too Far, got Robert Redford in it, and Sean Connery, and Laurence Olivier, it got everybody in a bridge too far. I mean, everybody famous in the 1970s and 80s. Michael Caine was in a bridge too far. This is what I'm afraid they're actually planning. Operation Market Garden. Operation Market Garden was a series of parachute jumps into several bridges. And the most important bridges were here at Arnhem and Nijmegen. This is a bridge here. All of these were bridges U.S. and British forces had to take. Their objective was to take those bridges, hold them. Why, Malcolm? Until a force of tanks would drive up, meet each one, and relieve them, right? And then the tanks would go on to the next bridge, relieve them. The tanks would go on to the next bridge and get to the Nijmegen Bridge where they would be in Germany for the first time. This, by the way, is the Netherlands. Going to Germany. The two bridges that were the toughest nuts were Arnhem, Nijmegen. Why? Because the fucking tanks never made it up there.
Wow.
I'm having this image in my head. Let me scream a little. That they're planning Market Garden. They land the airborne troops in Iran, and this armored force, in about a month, punches through and meets up with them to do what? Take out the nuclear materials? There is no reason. There is no terrain in the Gulf right now where that armor can operate. We don't have the landing craft to land them. Those vehicles are like vehicles on a car transporter that is bringing new cars to a dealership. They are not ready to be sold. You can't just take them out and take an M1 Tech and go off the ship and start shooting. They don't have ammunition on them. They don't have crews on them, which means we got to go to some port and offload this. And whatever port we offload this is, they're going to get their asses bombarded. And right now, with the second most significant act, the opportunity of bringing them to Western Saudi Arabia is out the window. So are they planning on forcing this giant ship, along with the amphibious transports and the surface-to-air missile destroyers, to force their way into the Persian Gulf? Then go to Bahrain or Qatar and marry those ships up, probably Kuwait, which is where we schedule all this stuff to go, and to put 10,000 soldiers on them? Okay, let's assume we do that. Where the hell are they going to go if they're in Kuwait? There's no amphibious ships that can move them. The vehicles that would move them are called LCUs or LCACs. I showed you an LCAC the other day. Hey, you guys, sorry I'm going on a rant because I woke up this morning realizing we may be headed towards a bigger military disaster than even I thought about. Somebody out there is thinking about invading Iran on a large scale, a medium scale, let's call it. Okay? Where's my LCACs at? The vehicles that are needed to move tanks are not in the Persian Gulf. They're not there. There's two of them on the amphibious assault group, but they have to move all the logistics, right? So if you want to move an M1 tank, you've got to actually have a vehicle, a hovercraft, that will actually lift it off the ground and move it, right? And here's the pretty picture of the LCACs, right? Fly. These things fly. The LCAC, LCAC. That's not correct. LCAC M1 tank. The Marines had M1 tanks forever, right? And I'm going to show you what is not in the Persian Gulf. We got two of them, and the Marines need them. They can't just go out and just borrow them. These things are huge. They can't even be flown on airplanes. They have to be bought in on giant ass ships. And those ships are not in the Persian Gulf right now. They're not anywhere. This
Yeah.
hovercraft is this flying ship, tank transporter that flies on air. That's why it's a hovercraft called the LCAC, LCAC. And right now we got two in the Persian Gulf. And when the Boxer gets there, we'll have four. The war they're talking about would need 20 or 30 of these. And that's like
Here's the
everything we have in our whole inventory. That's what they're bringing M1 tanks. But guess what? We don't have anything to move any of that. So what is this armor coming up to the Persian Gulf for? There's only one way to put it, folks. They're going to go through Kuwait. And I've seen that war before. That war was called the Iran-Iraq War. That's how the Iran-Iraq War started. They went from Al Faw Peninsula in the south to Khorram Shah to Bandar Khamenei, and they walked smack into a 3,000-foot steep mountain. Because there's no place in the Gulf, definitely not Karg Island. Karg Island's the size of a gas station, right? The Marines have all the equipment they need for Karg Island, Larak Island, Hormuz Island. They have the equipment, but they don't have enough. And they won't have enough for another 3 weeks. So someone explain to me what the fuck all that armor is for. Where are you going to offload it? Pakistan? Oman? None of that stuff's going to be offloaded to be used.
I
Somebody
don't think
explain this to me.
Pakistan would want to allow. I don't think Pakistan would allow the United States
That's
to
a
offload.
joke. That's a joke.
Okay, man.
Or just winging it here. The problem is, remember, those vehicles are like on a car transporter. They're empty. No weapons, no machine guns, no bullets. They have the cannons. They don't have any of the stuff that makes an M1 tank fight. And most importantly, they don't have the 4-man crew.
Makes
Somebody
sense.
says, don't stop ranting. Trust me, this is just the introduction today. This is part
You
one of the
know,
significant activities. So somebody, you guys, give me your best guess out there, because the only guess I can think of right now is they are planning Operation Market Garden. They are planning to jump into Iran and have a fucking armor convoy tear ass through Kuwait, start fighting the Iranians as they cross the border, go up into the mountains and link up with the airborne forces. That's all I can come up with. Because there's no land, even if they were to take Jask, right? Which is a port in the Indian Ocean. Those trucks and armored vehicles have no manpower, no equipment, no weapons. So you could
But-
offload at Jask, but who would be driving them off? Where are these 10,000 soldiers going to land, put their backpacks, and how are they going to get from Kuwait or Saudi Arabia over to that ship to do systems checks? They can't. And here's what. Go on. Why'd you help me out, bro?
I'm trying to. The way I'm thinking about this is the Gulf nations.
The rain's going to hurt.
It already does. Saudi Arabia could have easily demanded the United States to be like, "What, you leaving us high and dry?" The same thing with the Kuwaitis and the Emiratis, and the United States is having themselves like finding themselves to be like, okay, we got to send them at least some troops to help them manage the technology that we sold them or give them extra expertise. That's the only thing I could come up with. Like these soldiers are, if they're not going to be deployed to the front lines, they're going to be sent to Saudi Arabia and the UAE and
do what? To sit and look pretty on a brigade's worth of 900 vehicles for a mechanized infantry brigade? That's what they're
well,
going to do?
I mean,
Just go there and
you
go to the
are
freaking Costa
you are
Coffee?
you are talking about Trump, the only president that demanded a military parade in the United States. So
I
like you are talking about like an image person. So I could definitely see them either like sitting up as props. Like the US military is a prop for the US government for Trump.
Let me show y'all something. All right. This is a matter of logistics. This is where this ship is coming from. Down here in Diego Garcia, way down there, bottom of the Indian Ocean. As a matter of fact, see that? It says British Indian Ocean territory here. That's Diego Garcia. It takes 3-4 days, depending on its speed, to steam up here to get into the general Indian Ocean or the Gulf of Oman. Now, this is a logistics problem. Those vehicles have nothing in them. They need to offload at a port, right? So it's like a car, like when you see those big roll on, roll off ships down at ports and there's like 500 cars there. That's all that ship does. It does nothing else. It just brings you the vehicles, right? But there's no place to offload. The closest place where they might get permission to offload is up here just off the Persian Gulf called Corfacan. I've been to Corfacan. All right. Let me tell you something about Corfacan. One, very steep mountains around it. But two, ain't particularly big. It's a giant container port right there. That's Corfacan. But did you notice it's about 30 miles from freaking Iran, right? It is really close to Iran. Are you going to really want to bring that giant ship up there and offload 1,000 vehicles that are going to all sit in a car park? And then what are you going to do? You're going to fly 10,000 troops to Dubai International or Sheikh Khalifa International, or was it Sheikh Maktoum International, and then have them go over by what? School buses? Over to Corfacan, where the Iranians can bombard them all day with drones and ballistic missiles while they're trying to put oil inside an armored personnel carrier? And if you said, well, no, Malcolm, they'll go to Kuwait. Well, there's that little problem of getting through the Strait of Hormuz alive. Let's say that ship
Meanwhile,
goes there.
Russia is giving real-time satellite imagery to Iran for all these like precise hits. Like you could easily see Russia on satellite tracking U.S. troops landing in Saudi Arabia and UAE and coming to shore and giving them precise, exact locations to hit. Yeah, I could. You make
Yeah.
great points. Yeah.
The thing I'm just trying to explain to people here, if that ship's moving and they're going to marry up with 10,000 men, where are they going? You can't get through here. If you get through here, you know what would be the worst thing in American history? Having that ship hit by 2 or 3 ballistic missiles, 3 or 4 drones, having it burning it on fire with 1,000 armored vehicles. Oh, yeah, that part. So if we're going to fight our way into the Gulf, it's going to be a massive task force. Missiles will be goddamn flying everywhere, and you don't know if there's mines all over the place. Because if I were the Iranians, I'd make that shit a spectacle. A spectacle, right? And then once that ship full of fucking unmanned, unequipped vehicles gets there, where are you going to go so that you can use those tanks? Well, you can't go to Qatar because there's all this water. UAE, all this water. Bahrain, shitloads of water. Kuwait, right up here. See that? Right below Basra, that's Bubiyan Island. We talked about that yesterday. We're going to talk about it again today. That's Khorramshahr. That's Iran. That's the closest place you can get to Iran with tanks. Because don't forget, because you got to land them in Kuwait at Port Al Shuaibah down here. Then all those soldiers who fly in can take command of the tanks, get the machine guns on, ammunition, fuel. But you know what's going to be happening if the Iranians see that, right? It'll be ballistic missile city. They'll be bombarding us left, right, and center. There aren't even drivers for those tanks on that ship. You have to fly the guys over to drive them off of the ship. There's only a skeleton crew. Maybe they'll fly over and pick them up, off of Oman. But what the hell? I don't understand what these people are doing. And if there's a fucking plan here, they're doing it over martinis. I'm sorry? They're doing it over drinks because I don't see any
They're doing over tea.
I don't see any tactical coherence to what's happening here. And if they're doing this to threaten the Iranians, you don't think the Iranians have a bigger intelligence staff than Malcolm, Wajia, and Jacob going, well,
Yeah.
this is the stupidest shit I've ever seen? right?
Also, you have to imagine that the Gulf water is very shallow,
Oh,
meaning
yes.
like your Rolex diver watch could go deeper than what's available there. Um, and
Rolex diver watches only go as deep as the dance clubs of Dubai. All right. They don't go any deeper. They never touch water. Holy cow. Holy cow. All right. One last thing that I want to discuss before we start the show. You know what? I should have put out this notice. I should have put out another notice saying, hey, this show's going to be unhappy. Do not miss this one. Because I'm thinking the only phrase that is going through my mind is fuckery is abounding here, right? Whatever's happening with these roll on, roll off ships, that just tells me you are planning some shit people are not thinking about. And if the Iranians read MT Anderson's satellite thing, or the Russians are tracking this, they're going to go, hey, do you know they're sending up a brigade's worth of armor? And the only place that armor can come into Iran through is southern Iraq. That means you'll have to fight through the Iraqis, the Heshid Shabi, and that means Kuwait or Saudi Arabia would be invading Iran. Because they're not going to let the Kuwaitis off if Americans start bringing 1,000 vehicles in.
Mhm.
Help me, Jesus. This is the dumbest ass shit I have seen in forever. Okay,
Well,
let's go back to Google Earth, folks.
it tells you how much they're not listening to the experts around them. Tells you
People
how
are
much
fall-
experts are not even allowed in the space that the decision making is being taken place.
People are just following orders. There's no decisions being made beyond Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth isn't even making decisions. I don't even think he's telling the president or anybody above him what the real stakes are. I think he's thinking, yeah. Hey, I just want to point something about when we invaded Iraq, that small country in the picture, right? Let me show you that photograph again. When we invaded Iraq, right here, we invaded Iraq. Let me show you. That small, tiny country, 4 times, 3.5 times smaller than Iran. We invaded that with 100,000 men. That's guys on the ground. What exactly do they intend to invade with 20,000 men? I can't figure it out. We had over 1 million men in Vietnam at one point, fighting day and night, total air supremacy. Ay, 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 ay. So, again, that's what the story is. 10,000 additional soldiers. And again, Americans, I love what somebody wrote this morning. They go, Americans don't understand geography or care about the size of countries. Vietnam was the size of that area around Bandar Abbas. Just that. That was the size of South Vietnam, right? We had dozens of air bases, hundreds of military bases, and still got our ass kicked by guys in flip flops.
Yeah.
Why'd you tell them about the next significant activity? As if that wasn't enough. You know what I'm talking about.
The
No.
Prince Edwards. What?
I hope you've been paying attention to the news this morning. The Houthis entered the war.
Last night, yes, yes, the Houthis entered the
The
war.
Houthis.
Bab al-Mandab is officially going to be held hostage. We talked about that 2 days ago or a few days ago. That
Uh-huh.
the second um, very important nerve for the rest of the world economy is Bab al-Mandab, because you have the Suez Canal that doesn't only have oil flowing through it or natural gas, it has a lot of the food basket of the world floating through it. So Without that, the world does not have access to Egyptian food production. Well, you're not gonna have your strawberries in your American in your American Walmart. You're not going to have the cucumbers that you like. You're not your basic fruits and vegetables that you use in your kitchen and you get from Egypt is gonna be cut off. And once that's cut off, you're gonna have more expensive food in the United States. Once you have more expensive food, we're already facing a world recession.
Yep. So on the map, right now, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. So other ships have been coming up, going down here and crossing the Bab el Mandab waterway in the south next to Houthilandia, right? And then going up to Yanbu, picking up Saudi crude, going through the Suez Canal or coming back through the Bab el Mandab. Last night, the Houthis launched a barrage of ballistic missiles on Israel and announced that they were now entering the war on the side of their Iranian brothers, which means now they haven't closed the Bab el Mandab, but it's only been a few hours. They could start carrying out attacks on the Bab el Mandab waterway, which will cut off everything to Europe, and from Europe to Asia, and everything will have to go around to South Africa now. Let's go to the big board. Let me show it to you on Google Earth. God, this thing, why is it just so screwy this morning? Here we are. Here is the world. Most goods come through the Suez Canal, past the Bab el Mandab waterway, go out to Asia about their business. Or Asia, oil tankers come up, come to the Strait of Hormuz, get their oil, go back, go about their business. That's closed off. Now they're going over here through the Bab el Mandab to Saudi Arabia to Yanbu, get their oil, turn around, go back. If the Houthis start attacking ships today, that will be cut off. And
That's right.
all global trade will be held hostage, and we will have to go this way. All the way down here between Madagascar, down to Cape Town, Cape of Good Hope, go all the way back up around Africa, and then go to the European markets, or go to the European markets, go all the way back down around here and go to Asia. This is why Marco Polo founded a trade route. This is why they dug the Suez Canal. This is why the Gulf of Strait of Hormuz is so important. What does that mean, Malcolm? What are you trying to say? Hold on.
Yeah.
If this happens today, it is the end of the global economy. Thank you, Donald Trump. Right? That trip
Mhm.
around South Africa adds 2 to 3 weeks to everything. Every ship that would have come to the Persian Gulf, 2 to 3 weeks. Supply chains, market chains, perishable goods, everything stops. Everything either gets charged a gabillion dollars or it just shuts down. Thank you, Donald Trump.
That's not taking into consideration the fact that every ship and every airplane would have to be fully reliable on each port they stop at. And if they stop at a port or an airport that is just doesn't have it, then that ship is stuck and that airplane is stuck. And at a time where each country is not selling their oil to the rest of the world and is keeping each oil barrel as a part of their natural a part of their national security, then you are going to see the chokehold of the global economy. Yes, global trade. Whatever you are used to, you can expect it's already going to be expensive. Like I don't know how many gamers are in here, but PS5 or Sony came out today, said they're adding another $100 to their PS5, just because
Gas
citing that
tax.
gas
A
tax. Yep.
gas tax. All right, everybody
So
watch this report. This is from Al Jazeera about the escalation of the war today and how bad it can really get.
Was launched from Yemen by the Ansarullah Houthis towards Israel. And as we said, is the first attack by the Iran allies in this conflict. Ansarullah, or the Houthis, were founded in the 1990s as a Shia Muslim political organization. But in the early 2000s, it became a militarized movement involved in armed conflicts with the Yemeni government. Fighters seized the capital Sana'a in 2014. Since then, they've consolidated control over the northwest. This triggered more than a decade of conflict with a Saudi led coalition, which backed the internationally recognized government. Well, let's bring in our guest panel. Joining me here in the studio is Mohammed Al Masri. He's Professor of Media Studies at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. And in Milan, we're joined by Ibrahim Jalal. He's a senior researcher and policy advisor on Yemen, the Gulf, and the Horn of Africa. If I could start with Ibrahim in Milan. So, Ibrahim, are we about to see the Ansarullah Houthis now widen their attacks to include a whole range of targets beyond simply Israel? Is that the direction that you see the Houthis going in?
Thanks for having me. It was anticipated that the Houthis would join this war since February 28. It was a matter of timing. And when we review the Houthi cross-border attacks over the past couple of years and decade, they always depend on phased and layered approach to scale up and widen the scope of targets. Over time, now that the Houthis have their arsenal intact, they have deployed, a sizable amount of drones and missiles in a decentralized manner. They will realize over time that striking, as they did in the past, that striking a target 1,100 kilometers north is distant, less effective.
Right.
But it adds up military pressure, it exhausts the defenses.
That looks like they have dead.
To target eventually in the second and third phases what they call Israeli vessels through Bab al-Mandeb. And when that happened, we knew in 2023, 2024, 2025, that this makes the global shipping passing through that, regardless of what they say in practice. So that might be another layer of escalation.
All right, that's an important point.
Okay. That's a good point. This is going to another place, guys. This is going to a very different place. The Houthis bombarded Israel. That's the footage from this morning. You notice that there are dead amongst those casualties. That was the Mogen David. And there's, I can't remember the name of the religious group who has to literally blot up every drop of your blood, right? And all of your flesh when you're killed. Somebody, you could remind me of that. But they started ballistic missile attacks last night on Israel. And that means we're going to a different place. Jacob. No, not Jacob. Frick, watch it.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah. I can't get any sleep, man. I mean, this is really bad. This is really bad. These two events that we just talked about. And by the way, the first 57 minutes of this show was to talk about the first two significant activities of this war. That's how bad
Yeah.
things are. We're going to have to go an hour and a half because this is bad, the things that are happening there. What do I mean, we could be planning we are clearly planning a big ground invasion, but the numbers aren't big enough to really be real, and I don't know who they're talking to.
I think, Trump understands that he is looking for what I feel like is like Trump is looking for a way out, but also wants to have the legacy of I'm the one that took down the whole Iranian IRGC down. And
If that's the case, then he's talking to Netanyahu because Netanyahu is the only one that's really talking like that.
yeah. I
You think?
feel like Netanyahu. Oh, we already know the head of the Turkish intelligence came out and said Netanyahu is constantly working to undermine the peace negotiations. Netanyahu is actively working and making sure that the peace negotiations don't go through, and he can keep going in this war. So I definitely feel like Trump has associated himself with something that unfortunately he cannot pull out of at this point. And in the same time, Netanyahu could have not done any of what he's doing without Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yesterday, okay, let's go on to the regular news because we've got a few of them. I'm going to show you a few videos and hopefully we can reach some sanity. I'm still waiting for attacks to start in the Red Sea. But yesterday I talked about how the Iranians had claimed that the Israelis were operating from Kuwait's Bubiyan Island. Well, now, last night, the IRGC claims that it was U.S. Marines or the U.S. Army on Kuwait's Bubiyan Island and that they struck them with missiles and drones. So somebody's operating off that island, and the Iranians don't like it. So that's one thing. Um, All right, 13 hours ago, an eyewitness in Bushehr reported that 4 hours ago, for a duration of 1 hour, heavy airstrikes were carried out on Bushehr city and the vast area of the water docks, to include the entire customs administration, was targeted. This is the image of the area that they said was attacked in the city of Bushehr. I find this very interesting that they would attack the docks, right? They want to disable the docks for anyone to use them, which means they want to give oil tankers, container ships, they want to damage their ability to bring things in to Iran. That's an economic war tool, and I don't understand it. There's no navy up there. So why would you just go out and destroy the docks, the cranes, and the container ships? Another question is, who did it? Right? You don't see us saying we did it. This is a sort of Israeli thing where apparently Israel's strategy is destroy Iran's ability to feed itself, to power itself, to exist as a society. What do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying just a minute ago. That Netanyahu is hindering uh, all peace treaties. He's interested in actually destroying the economy of Iran. He is interested in creating a hunger situation. He wants to create the perfect storm, what he calls basically the perfect scenario for the Iranian people to go out and have a total collapse of the government so the Iranian people could take on their government. But what he doesn't understand is all of this can backfire. And instead of all these people going out against their government, all of a sudden becoming, nationalists and wanting to protect their own government. Not a lot of people in Iran are pro-Israel. Not a lot of people in Iran are pro-Netanyahu. They already have a lot of sensitivity with the West. Nevertheless, like nevertheless, having an actual physical bombardment of your nation. Now, if the Iranians understand that the current economic hardship and the current war is caused not by their country and not by choice of their nation, they're going to have a high resentment toward the West. Like that, it's a 1+1 = 2. It's no more than that. The United States just made sure that it is a historical enemy of Iran for the next 100 years.
Yeah. Oy, oy, oy. Okay. In regular attacks, this is Kuwait International Airport burning. Again, third day of drone attacks in a row. They are trying to destroy all of the jet fuel at that airport, right? They're trying to bring that country to a standstill. What else has happened yesterday, Malcolm? Well, Kuwait got hit. Here is Bahrain getting hit again. Let me turn that volume down a little bit. Bahrain's BAPCO, Bahrain Petroleum Company. I don't think you see that very clear. The next one's better. That's a drone hit at the BAPCO oil terminal. It is now on fire. That's Bahrain. Saudi Arabia got hit. As a matter of fact, Saudi Arabia got hit and it destroyed or damaged maybe 3 to 5 U.S. Air Force aircraft. Wounded now, as you said, 24 airmen who were there. 2 of the aircraft were our airborne early warning aircraft. 2 other of the aircraft were the extremely rare EC-130 Compass Call aircraft. What's a Compass Call aircraft? It's a C-130 that has such powerful electronics, it can take control of your television channels and broadcast its own activities there, right? This is it right here. That is an EC-130 Compass Call, both damaged. Because when an airplane blows up on the flight line because a ballistic missile hits it, it tends to set fire to other airplanes, right? So at least 3 KC-135 tankers, 2 EC-130 Compass Call, and 2 E-3 Sentry airborne early warning aircraft. Considering we only have 25 of those, 2 of those is significant. And we now have 0 of these. Good job, guys. And here's a pretty picture of it burning on the right, and all the ones in yellow are damaged. Yeah, I think it's just great. We just leave that stuff out in the open.
There was an additional F-14, F-15 that landed in a Saudi military
F-16.
airport. F-16? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
I briefed on
damaged.
this yesterday. It was damaged, but it flew all the way across Iran, all the way across the Persian Gulf, and landed in a Saudi base. So it couldn't have been that bad.
Very impressive.
Here's Bahrain bopping off trying to shoot down ballistic missiles. I'm sorry, there's a lot of light in the room. I'm going to have to change the curtains. But you'll know it when you see the missile hit. That's those white lights there coming on in the middle of the night. And when it hits, well, let's just say it's fireball. Up here are the 3 ballistic missiles inbound, and then you'll see there's one got intercepted. That's a second interception. That's a third that went off, but it did not hit the missile. Every day, the Gulf states are getting bombarded. Just because we don't talk about it doesn't mean that it's not happening, right? Boom. Boomtown everywhere. All right. Turkish television caught an image of last night. This is the cluster bombs coming down on top of Tel Aviv.
Bir saniyeden bahsedeyim. Sirenler duyulmadan, çünkü ben arkadaşlarımın uyarıcılarını söylemiştim. Önce telefondan o arama motorundan riskli bölgedesinin uyarısı geldi. Sonrasında bir siren sesi çalana kadar bekleyin dedik arkadaşlara. Belki de olmaz dedik. Ama siren sesi çalmadı. Ve bir kez daha söyleyeyim.
Hard to see. Anyway, but that hearing of all the air raids, been to Israel when the air raids went off. That's what it sounds like Kiev, where I spent. All right. Wajid, do you have anything else to add before I go to the one funny thing so that we can have the feeling that the world is not completely on fire?
So these missiles that are hitting crucial places like oil storage facilities that got hit, for example, the one that got hit in Kuwait at the airport oil facility, it took them almost 3 days to put that fire down. I don't think that a lot of the viewers understand, how long it takes to take down an oil facility fire. It takes certain chemicals and
yeah.
it takes specialized training to fight that specific fire. And hitting these facilities take a lot of work to fight back.
Yep. Okay, last bit for today, and we'll go to questions. The Iranian goddamn Lego game is world class. I saw an actual news article the other day where they were complaining about how America is losing the propaganda war to Iran. And and that rapper guy, he's pretty freaking good. And here's another one. Every day they put out a new Lego propaganda video, which works. And I like the way you can't see it, but over here you see the guy in the gray hair. That's the Lego Pete Hegseth. He should have a bottle of whiskey in his hand. Anyway, let's watch this. It's pretty propagantastic.
How about a cowboy ready to start the attack?
Yes, I've been waiting for a long time.
Well, start.
Ya nazikten.
Oh.
You killed me, Trump!
First off, we know that's bullshit because Trump wouldn't cry. But these Iranians are putting out a video like this every day, and they are viral, right? That one is one of the newer other ones. I saw the one, it had like over 1 million views on X, which, they suppressed this stuff on X. I don't know what we're doing wrong, but we're doing a lot wrong. All right. And
Yeah.
we are clearly not interested in engaging or counter-engaging their narrative. These guys are cheerleading on Fox News and they think they're winning the war. I got to tell you, not going to lie, we ain't winning the war. Right now, we're just seeing it spiral up. Why don't you take us out of here and I'll answer questions unless there's questions for you.
Again, I wrote, if you want to have an insight into the Iranian soldier mindset, I have written an article specifically about that. I'm happy to retweet it or re-substack it. It's still free to read. I strongly, if you want to have a good understanding why the Iranians are not viewing themselves as they're losing, and they're seeing themselves as accomplishing one of their best missions in life. This is for it. So you should go out and read that. I strongly recommend you to do that.
Oh, you just reminded me. Yesterday I did a tweet. People were asking me about why don't the Iranians surrender? Right. And so I put a tweet up was it a tweet? A tweet on Twitter. And one of the things that I found was an eyewitness testimony from the Iran-Iraq war about what were known as Ahmadinejad's demons. These were the children that were sent in the Iran-Iraq war. This is a photograph of a child soldier in the Iran-Iraq war. Boys, children as young as 9 were put into the war and were sent out to essentially be suicide bombers. So don't think that these guys don't have motivation. They have motivation. I want to just read this thing for you. I just got to find it. But it's about, Ya Allah, Ahmadinejad's babies. Let me see if I can find it on X. But as you were saying about the mindset, they don't mind dying. Oh, this is another thing.
Did you tell the viewers about the Latmias yet?
No. Oh, but I did, by the way, find out they identified who the negotiators were for the Iranian U.S. negotiations talk. Remember how they couldn't figure out who the person negotiating was? They found that negotiator, and Trump met him and had his picture taken with him. Okay,
only Borat.
just as realistic as anything that's coming out of the White House. But yeah, child soldiers were a very, very big thing. And sending your children to sacrifice their lives for the Ayatollah was an honor, a very big honor. So if you could just give me a second. But like you said, they want to die, right?
Especially that it is their homeland. It's their holy land. They view themselves as fighting next to the Imam al-Hussein. That Imam al-Hussein died while he was fighting for against tyranny. They see themselves fighting against tyranny, and the fact that they see themselves fighting against tyranny only makes it more part of their mission.
Okay. I'm going to read this to you because some of you might not be able to read. This comes from a German report that reporters analyzed during the Iran-Iraq war. It said, military expertise was on Iraq's side, but manpower was on Iran's side. Only Iraqi minefields impeded the passage of Iranian soldiers. Khomeini's army tried all kinds of animals to detonate the mines and allow soldiers to pass. But all the animals fled at the sight of someone else's explosion. This meant Khomeini carried out a plan only available to fundamentalist regimes. He imported 500,000 plastic keys from Taiwan, and they were given to children who were part of the Basji. The children hung them around their necks and were told that the keys they were holding were keys that would allow them to enter paradise. The children occupied the front lines of fire and were ordered to march in formation through the minefields while chanting songs related to the Battle of Karbala, in which one of the most important Shia martyrs had been tortured and killed. And I've met Iraqis that have seen this. I've been down on the Al-Faw Peninsula where this occurred. It took them years to clear the minefields. There's still millions of mines down there. But this whole thing, kids would wrap themselves in sheets so that their body parts would stay together, right? Most of their body parts, and they could be buried right away. They had a key and they had a scarf on their head that said, Ya Hussein. And this is one of the children. You can see he has this Ayatollah Khomeini picture that's pinned to his chest. He apparently got wounded and the soldiers took pity on him and tried to evacuate him. This is who we're fighting, okay, or who we think we're going to fight. And I think a lot of people have this impression in their mind that we can just beat them. You know, they'll run away in a firefight. They didn't run away in Iraq. It's home field advantage. Here's what I wrote. Iran will not surrender. It's cultural and religious. There is no real pressure they couldn't withstand. Even with a nuke, our standards of defeat do not apply here. See the Iran-Iraq war below. What do you think, Wajid? You agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Having you read the front lines of the Iraq-Iran war is very devastating. That was not too long ago. That was 30 40 years ago, and that war took 10 years. Iranians sacrificed their people on the front line. These kids were fighting on the front line for 10 years. They have the experience, they have the resilience. If you think that you can last 10 years fighting in Iran,
You got another
if
thing
you
coming.
think you got another thing coming your way.
All right. Let's get to questions. I want to cut this short today. We're already over 15 minutes. I did forget Jacob is skiing in Germany. Remember? No, France. Right? On the French-Italian border. So Jacob gets a day off. What's that like? I would like to have a day off. Okay, Caroline's son got the call and he's not Special Forces or 82nd. Yeah, there's another brigade coming. Have these tanks been modified for drone attacks? No, they have not. Is the U.S. military going to use depleted uranium ammunition on Iran? Yes, we use it in every war. If the U.S. is talking about 10,000 troops on the ground for Iran, where's it coming from? The Rapid Deployment Forces already moved. What's the next step? They will mobilize an infantry division or brigade like the 2nd Infantry Division or the 3rd ID, and they will fly them over. I don't know. Do you think they're preparing for the draft? Yes. Have they invoked stop loss on the troops? Not yet. That's where they won't let you out of the military. Let me see something. Why
Would
are
this
this
be
is one for you, Wajid? Why aren't
would this be
countries in that region putting their troops in the game? Why is it just our men and women?
because number one, the region did not ask for this war. Number two, they were not given a heads up about it. So even if there were one or two countries that were talking in the background to Trump about maybe going with this war, they were not giving any heads up about how this war is going to start when it would start. Number three, they are way more sensitive about losing their own citizens than the Americans. They say that no, why would we fight when the American soldier is going to come and fight for us?
Nice.
And last but not least, they would start with air bombardments before sending any soldiers on the ground.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty much it. We've answered most of the other questions already. Don't forget, today is No King's Day. It is the No King's March. I'm speaking today here in upstate New York at 2:00. Most, they wanted me in Massachusetts, but I'm up here. You go out and do something today. Join a protest. Go out and make your voice heard. This is all you have, your voice and your vote. You're smarter than everybody else now. Please go out and participate in the No Kings. We want to try to break the 7 million person record. And for that, be prepared for a Malcolm Nance emergency Substack live. I'm probably going to do one. I don't know if I'm doing it today or tomorrow after the briefing, but this thing with Yemen is going to spin out of control. And by the time you finish your rally and have a hot dog, we could be at full-scale war where the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz are completely closed. So sorry to have to break all this horrible news to you on a Saturday morning, but you are better informed. Please, if you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe to YouTube. If you are watching it, come over to Substack, to malcolmnance.substack.com, and subscribe to Substack. I am trying to get to 100,000 followers because the algorithm changes at 100,000. It means that they expose you to like 500,000 people. And there are a lot of people that are not getting this message. Same for Watch Your Lion. Follow Watch Your Lion. And, I'm too tired. I'm going to go get a cup of I'm coffeeed out, if you could believe that, right? I'm going to go get a San Pellegrino or something and go lay down and cry in my pillow because this is really getting out of control. Thank you. See you tomorrow. I will put out the schedule alert for tomorrow right now. Take care. Wajid. Ma salama. Fi man Allah.
Have a good one. Fi amanillah. Bye-bye.